Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Caffeinated Souls podcast. My name is Lewis, this is my co host Gracie, and
Hi.
we are back. It's been a month, but we have returned.
We've returned home from war.
Honestly, it's been so long. Sorry, it wasn't meant to be that long of a break. I basically ended up being really, really sick. The last time we recorded a podcast, I was very sick, and it only got worse. So I had to go home and be looked after by my family, and then it was Christmas, so there was no
Yup.
point in me coming back. And I ended up staying for Christmas for quite a while, so we've not had the chance to record, but we're back now, back to scheduled programming. It might not be once a week from now on, purely because there's a lot going on. Life is busy, so it
Yup.
may become a as and when we have the time. But we'll try and get one up at least once every 2 weeks. We can try for that.
Yeah, that's like really attainable, in my humble
Yeah,
opinion.
we can do that. We're slaying. We can do that. Shall we divulge what we are drinking in terms of a caffeinated beverage today?
Yes. I am drinking the Rockstar Juiced, the new one that they have out. This is the Passion Fruitus. I'm not a massive fan, I'll be honest. This is the first time I've drunk it,
Not
but
living.
um, it's an energy drink, that's for sure.
And to be fair, we did get those for free
Yes.
at the Rockstar Reboot event, which I've just realised the last time we recorded a podcast, that hadn't happened yet. So that's another thing we need to talk
Oh
about.
my goodness.
Yeah, that's another thing we need to talk about. I am not drinking an energy drink purely because it's God knows what time it is. What time is it? It is 20 to 11 in the evening,
Yeah.
and I need to be up early tomorrow, so I'm not trying to be up until 5 a.m. But I am partaking in a lemonade in my new Minecraft mugs, which I'm
Yay!
absolutely obsessed with. It's bad.
My brother has that mug. I'm pretty sure it's on the table. Oh, it is actually.
So it is! Yeah, I got the stack of three that I saw in the shop, and it was like £12.50, and I was like, do you know what? Screw it.
Do it.
I need them. And they were a very good financial decision
Mhm.
because I've been using them constantly. So a lot has happened since we have been gone. I've just had a look actually, and we have been gone for almost 2 months.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been a while,
Mm.
but a lot of stuff has happened, so it means we've got lots to talk about, which is good. I'll try and do this in chronological order. They may not be because we're both neurodivergent and have terrible memory. But the first glaringly obvious one I can think of is we've just hinted to it regarding the Rockstar. But we went to an event hosted by Rockstar. It was Rockstar Reboot, which is a series they are doing over on Twitch, and it is hosted by the one and only Nikki Nia Chu.
It was so
And
cool.
she posted on Instagram stories with a link being like, fill out the form and you might get tickets to go see this thing. And so I got sent the email with two, and
Mhm.
I was like, well, Gracie's coming with me because Gracie is like Nia Chu #1 stan. I was like, this has to happen. And then when you came up for it, you then saw in your emails that you also had tickets.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that worked because not everyone who filled out that form got tickets, but we just coincidentally got given them. But that was nice because then we got to take one of our friends with us.
We did. It was a really fun time actually.
It was kind of scary when we
It was
first
really
got there.
scary.
It was in the middle of the London Docklands, and if you're not familiar with London, that's an area that's right on top of the river, and it's just mainly warehouses. And that's literally where this thing was hosted. It was hosted in a giant warehouse that was like a 10-minute walk away from a DLR station.
Mm.
It was so when we first got there, we were like, this is scary.
Yeah, especially because as well when we got there was a really small amount of people that were there,
Mhm.
and we were like, either everyone is really late or this is like a really secluded event.
Honestly, because we got there only about 20 minutes before it was due to start.
Mhm.
And I was like, there's probably going to be hundreds of people at this thing. We're probably getting in quite late, but you know what? It is what it is. And then we had to walk through like a car park essentially
Yep.
to this corridor that was lit in red, and there were about 10 of us.
Yeah, I think the final number was like 12. I think there was 12 of us
Yeah,
in total.
we were all just kind of stood there like, are we waiting to die? Like, this
Mm.
is so ominous. I think I literally tweeted a photo of us two and our friend, and I just said, if you don't hear from us again, it was Jack Manifold.
Yep.
We could just all die right now and no one would know.
Hmm.
And then we got in there and it was huge.
Yeah, it was massive. It was like a huge warehouse that had like just been converted into
Yeah.
a space for events like that. It was really cold as well. They hadn't put the heating in.
It was freezing, like late November in England in a warehouse that's not built to be insulating. It was very, very
It was
cold.
really cold.
Because I was kind of looking around and I was just like, this is insane.
Mm.
We are like doing this, like what's gonna happen? Because we didn't really know what it was. We just
No, yeah.
agreed to go.
Mm.
And then the merch table happened. I think tell the story of this mysterious
Okay.
merch table because it's wild.
Kind of walked in and they pushed us to the side towards like a merch table with loads of people that were standing behind it. And all of us kind of looked at it and were like, we don't have any money to get any merch right now. Because it was like November, like Christmas was coming up. There was there was like a little bit until student loans happened. Like most of us were students. It was just not happening. Merch was not being bought. And then one of the staff members overheard us talking about how we couldn't afford it, and she just looked at us and went, "No, it's all free, and you can like take as much as you want. Like, just tell us your sizes and what you want, and you can have literally anything." Because they were expecting a lot of people to turn up, so they had a big surplus of merch. Because there was only 12 of us before the event started, they basically were just giving it to us.
It was a
It was
free
crazy.
for all.
It was absolutely crazy.
Like I've got a hoodie, a
Hmm.
t-shirt, coat, like a full-on Parker coat that like you could buy in a shop for like £50,
Hmm.
a tote bag. I didn't get a hat purely because I knew I'd
Good.
never wear it. You did.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and it was just like we were just like, what is going on? Like, where's the catch?
Yeah, but it was like, where's the catch here? Like, what? Who are we selling our souls to for this?
Honestly, I felt like I'd signed a contract. I was like
Mm,
honestly on edge. And then we kind of had a look around the rest of it. There was like a little wall for us to take photos with, just big drums full of rock stars that we could take as many of as we wanted.
this
So
is
I
where this
I
came
made
from.
advantage of that. Yeah, that's where this one originated from. In a bin in a warehouse in the middle of London.
In the dead of night.
And then they like I would assume it's like the creative director or the producer
Yeah.
came over to everyone and was like, okay, here's how this is going to go down. You're going to watch like a live music performance, and then you're going to be part of the live studio audience while Nikki's interviewing people.
Yep.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it to be like that. I kind of assumed we would be like seated
Mm,
behind the cameras.
yeah,
That's
that's what I
kind of what
thought.
I envisioned. And then they were like, nope, you're going to be stood directly behind them. You will be in shot for all of it.
Yeah, because when we were standing in the hallway before we went in, like the red one, there was like a sign that said it was being broadcast live on Twitch, and that if you didn't want to be on the stream, you basically had to leave because
Hmm.
it was going to be like a free for all, and everyone was going to be on the cameras.
Yeah.
And that wasn't something I expected at all.
No, I kind of knew that we would probably be in it at some point, but
Hmm.
I kind of assumed it would be like camera pans over crowd
Yeah.
to the little like talk show that was happening, and it just wasn't like that.
Nope.
We got to watch the live music from a band called
Tom
Thomas
A.
Smith.
Tom A. Smith.
Thomas
They were
Smith.
really good.
Oh, they were so good.
They were
They were
so good.
fantastic. They also were pulled into that project really late.
Yes.
Because the rumor mill has it that James Merritt was the one that was meant to be performing.
He was.
But yeah,
He was. The all of the promo posts, they had tagged James and Jago and that lot in all of the posts
yeah.
up to when it started.
So yeah, like that live music was really, really cool. Obviously, I'd never heard of him before,
Nope.
but gave a really good performance, and I've
Yeah.
listened to more of his music recently, and he's very, very good. And then yeah, we were just essentially stood behind Nikki, Kit, and two people I cannot remember their names for the life of me.
One of them was the singer from Tom A. Smith. One of them was, the guy from TikTok that does the DJing in public.
Yeah.
It was him, and
Yeah,
then
I can't
someone
remember his name.
else. I've complete their names have like omitted themselves from my memory. Like I genuinely don't remember. I feel really bad because it was so cool, but I don't remember. But the other one was like an expert on AI.
Yeah,
That's
and that was
basically
kind of
them.
there was essentially like a game segment in the stream,
Yep.
and that whole game was like centered around kind of like AI and
VR.
VR, hence why that guest was on. But we were essentially just semi part of this conversation as well.
Yeah.
Like there was quite a bit of like audience participation. Like Nikki made sure we felt involved at like every stage of like the stream. It was so lovely.
Yeah.
Like she would kind of like ask the questions to us to like gauge our reactions, and at one point like actually came round with a mic to try and get us all to talk. We're all socially
Yep.
awkward nerds from Twitter. Nobody wanted to say anything,
Nope.
to the point where our friend ran away from the microphone, and Nikki herself, which was so funny. And then there was the confetti cannon.
Oh no, the confetti cannon was so bad because I saw both of them getting ready and I knew it was going to happen. And because I saw both of them getting ready, I like was pre-freaking out for it to go off. So then I saw them and I started shaking because I was like, this is going to be a really loud noise and it's going to come out of nowhere and I'm not going to expect it. And then I was the least scared out of everyone, even though I genuinely fell over.
Yeah, you were like in the middle of putting your can on the floor,
Yeah.
or like putting it back up right. I think you might have knocked it over.
Yeah.
And then like just as you were coming back up, it went off.
Mhm.
So I feel like you were like too ingrained in the process of getting up off the floor, like be affected by it, but it shit me up so bad
It
because
genuinely was so
I didn't
scary.
even see them moving around. It was
No.
so
But
terrifying.
Nikki thought that it was us, which was really
Yeah,
funny.
Nick turned to all of us in the audience and went, "Did you guys do that?" And we were like,
No, no, we did not.
we would not have done this
It
to
was great.
everyone. And
Uh,
then after the stream was over, I don't know how many like concurrent viewers the stream had. I never got the chance to look.
um, the VOD, I think the VOD's gone now, but last I saw the VOD had 35,000 views. I think the concurrent views was like 4,000.
Blimey,
I
that's
know.
terrifying.
I
So
know.
yeah, we
It's
were
all...
our Facebook streams to lots of people.
Yep.
And then after everything was done, Nikki just kind of came over to all of us and was like, "Thank you guys so much for coming. Like, did you
Mm,
guys have a good time? Did you enjoy it?" I was
yeah.
like, Nikki knew she was trying to have a conversation with me. I was very like, I wasn't expecting it. I was kind of expecting it to like end and everyone just go
Mm,
home,
yeah.
because like it wasn't obviously her event. She was just the host of it.
Yeah.
So I was like, if these guys don't want to facilitate like a meet and greet afterwards, they're under no obligation to.
Well, yeah, and it was like when because they set up for us to have professional photos taken with Nikki after the event, which was so cool. It was
Awesome.
insane. It was
The wait
genuinely.
was not cool. The
Pardon?
wait was not cool.
No, the wait was not. But then we spent most of the wait talking to Kit. So like
Brilliant.
we just stood there talking to Kit for
Kit
like
Wisp
Kit Wisp.
for
Yeah, he's very nice. It was just really strange to kind of sit there and just have a chat.
yeah, it was very, very strange. But definitely not an experience we'll be forgetting in a hurry. I made Nikki cry.
Yep.
Nikki recognised you.
She did, which
That
is
was so wild.
I think I died a little bit.
It
Um
was so crazy.
I mean like cuz I walked up to her and she just looked at me and went, "Oh, I remember you. Have we met before?" And I was like, "Oh, yes."
Yep.
But it was really cool. It was really really cool.
Getting back was not as wonderful, but
No. The McDonald's
worth
we got on the way
it.
was worth it.
That was such a blast,
Mm,
considering we had literally no idea what to expect when we walked in.
nope.
Yeah, very grateful to be part of stuff like that. Like a couple of my friends who aren't involved in like MCYT at all were like messaging me being like, "How do you just get yourself in these really mental situations?" I was like, "I just pay attention to what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, if I see a link with a form, I'll fill it out, even if I don't know what it's for, because
Mm.
why not?"
Oh yeah,
And,
exactly.
you know, I could have quite easily brushed past that Instagram story and not thought about it again. And I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so glad I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Got to meet some nice new people. It was great.
It was really cool.
And then I died of the plague.
I think I died of the plague as well.
We were also ill. And then I ended up obviously going home.
Mhm.
But while I was back home, we got to go and see James Marriott.
Jimbo
Gracie
Mazza.
finally got to go to a James Marriott gig. It
It
finally
was
happened.
it was well overdue. It was so well overdue.
Yes, it was. A very controversial gig. A very
Yes,
controversial show.
it became very controversial
It
both during
did.
and after.
Yeah, it was like obviously it was a really like cool experience anyway because it was your first time going to a James exclusive gig. Obviously
Mm,
you saw him as a support for Lovejoy, but you hadn't seen him
no.
stand alone.
Yeah.
Um, Neither had our other friend who was with us, and so that was really exciting. I've become a bit of a seasoned veteran of James Marriott gigs at this point, but it's still just as exciting as the
Mm,
first time. And we kind of made the decision that we weren't going to queue all day because for the last two James gigs I'd been to, I was number one in the line, and I was like, I don't really want to do that again
yeah.
right now, especially because of how cold it was.
Mm,
But we did end up queuing for like 5 hours, but it didn't really feel like 5 hours. It passed quite quickly, which I'm grateful for. By the end of it, we were feeling the cold quite a bit, especially you. You were freezing.
yeah.
So yeah, this gig was on the 21st of December, so it was a Christmas themed show,
Yep.
and James wanted people to dress up, and he couldn't have picked a worse time to do a themed show
Nope.
when it's right on top of Christmas, all the uni students are poor. It just wasn't the best timed thing in the world, but we made do. We got ourselves some festive hats.
We did.
I covered myself in Christmas lights.
Yep.
So I was dressed as a Christmas tree, which was not planned actually. I planned on wearing the lights, but my dream merch that I ordered weeks before only just arrived in
Mm,
my apartment, but obviously I was back home, so I couldn't get it. So my friend brought the merch with him to the show.
yeah.
That worked out really well. It kind of made it all gel a bit better.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I wasn't annoying people around me because I kept turning to everyone and going, "Are these lights pissing you off? Because if they are, I will
Yeah.
turn them off." Thankfully, it wasn't.
That gig
Um,
was also the beginning of the "You Just Got Slow Down" sticker.
it was the slow. I've still got my slow down sticker in the back of my phone. You can't really see it because it's kind of covered by everything else.
I
In the corner of it.
changed everything in my phone case today.
You've zhuzhed it up.
My brother got given loads of Pokemon cards because he's got a thing for Pokemon. And he came home today from being with his dad for the weekend and was like, "Look at all these cards I've got." And then he showed me that he had a shiny Espeon card. And I was like, "Oh my god, that's so cool." And then like 20 minutes later he came into the front room and was like, "You can have this card if you want it, by the way." So now
Oh,
I put it in my phone case.
it looks sick.
It's really cool. I'm obsessed with it.
Or I love joy stickers.
Yeah. Although they've gone on my iPad case with the slow down sticker, so gone but
Valid.
never forgotten.
But yeah, James's set was incredible, as
Mhm.
he always is. And we got to hear him perform a cover that he'd never performed before.
Yep.
You finally got to hear the unreleased songs
Yep.
that I was so desperate for you to hear,
Yep.
and you liked them, which made me very happy. But that gig did have some controversy.
It did.
Can we talk about it? Because I kind of want to talk about it. Someone brought a cat into the gig,
Yeah.
a proper real cat, and the cat was really young,
10
from what I've heard.
months.
Yeah, 10 months old. And the person with the cat, I don't know who it was, and I don't want to know who it was holding the cat up in the air during the set. The cat had no ear protection.
Nope.
Um, I think the person's mum claimed that the cat was an emotional support animal, even though, in the eyes of the law, emotional support animals don't exist.
In the UK.
Yeah, in the eyes of the law
The
in the
UK
UK.
specifically, ESAs
Yeah.
do not exist. I mean, like they can be you can use like an ESA in the UK, but it's only for housing specific purposes. So like you can't be denied housing based on the fact that you have pets if they're an ESA. Basically,
You
that's the
can't take them into public spaces.
yeah, that's like the only stipulation.
Yeah,
So,
and people tried to use it as an opportunity to bash people who were bringing assistance dogs with them,
mhm.
and that was what really pissed me off because there is just no way, there's no world where those two things are comparable.
It felt like a bit of a slap in the face, you know, to people that do actually really need service
Yeah.
animals to then just take a cat to a gig and kind of claim equality was just
Yeah, and it was the fact that people then thought because that person was getting bashed for bringing an animal in, that that was then an opportunity to attack people that bring assistance dogs.
Yeah.
It was just a massive heap of shit, essentially. And James did a very good job of kind of just tweeting out, look, don't bring animals to my gigs unless they're assistance animals,
Yeah.
please. And hopefully people will listen. I fucking hope,
I hope
because I
so.
think if I see anyone do that again, I might lose my marbles.
Yeah.
But didn't take away from the experience for me.
Nope.
I still had a really, really good time.
Yeah.
I miss it. I miss gigs. I've literally not been to a gig in a month, and I feel like I'm like withdrawing from not being at concerts. It's ugh, I hate it. You, however, have been gigging all day, every day.
Yes. I mean, what's the date today?
22nd, I
It's the 22nd of January, and I've already been to 2 gigs this year.
think.
So on the 12th of this month, I went to go and see Jackson Wang. If you don't know who he is, he's a Chinese artist who initially found fame in K-pop, was in the group GOT7, and they've since kind of gone their separate ways, and Jackson's now focusing on solo music and solo projects. And it was really, really cool. It was so cool to kind of see him in that capacity, because for him it was a really intimate show when he's used to like touring the world with, you know, his like band members, and you know they're doing like sold out stadiums. It's like then suddenly you get to a venue that has like a 5,000 capacity and it's
Yeah.
suddenly tiny. But me and my friend, we got there 7 hours before doors opened, and we actually got shockingly close to the front
Well, heck.
behind all of the VIPs. There has been like a little bit of kind of controversy to come out of that.
Oh.
Because there's been a lot of, I don't want to say controversy, because I don't really think it is. It's more like people just being worried about him in general. Because I think during lockdown, or just after lockdown had ended, I think he went on a podcast hosted by Eric Nam, who is also another K-pop artist. He's like a K-pop indie. It's so cool. Yeah, so he went on this podcast post COVID, post lockdown, and from what I can tell, I didn't actually watch the episode, but from what I can tell, he kind of talked about how in lockdown he kind of ended up with a bit of an alcohol issue because he was really lonely. And to be honest, I don't think that was like a unique experience in lockdown. You know, everyone had various coping mechanisms for the absolute shit show that it was. But so he went on this podcast, talked about how he was lonely and kind of he was drinking a lot. And all through this tour, bearing in mind London was one of the last stops on this tour, all throughout this tour, every single date, he's drunk Hennessy straight from the bottle on stage every single tour stop.
Jesus.
So, and it's not even like there was 2 bottles in at London anyway. There was 2. So people were kind of like, he's drinking a lot, but you know, like he knows what his limits are. He's going to have found them. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my god, Jackson Wine drinks too much, because frankly, it's none of my business. But that's kind of like a lot of people were concerned about that post show. But I mean, the show itself was so cool. It was so cool.
Sick.
And then the day after, actually no, getting home from this concert, okay?
Oh,
Getting
Christ.
home, we were on the train, me and my friend that I went with. We were on the train, and we were on a train that was supposed to split at Hayward Heath. One was going to go one way, one part of the train was going to go one way, one was going to go to where we needed to go. And we get to Hayward Heath, the train splits, the other part goes where it needs to go, it leaves, it's gone. Our train is still kind of sitting in Hayward Heath for like another 10-20 minutes. And then the driver on the train is like, we have no onboard supervisor. This service is not allowed to run because we don't have one. So, because I think what they'd done is they'd like not scheduled someone in to work on our part of the train for that evening.
Fantastic.
So it was the last train of the night as well.
God.
So they cancelled it when we'd already left London. We were like
Jesus.
nearly an hour away from where we needed to be. So we got the driver said, he was like really apologetic. He was like, I'm so sorry, it's just the rules. Like, we cannot run this service, we're not allowed. So he told us to get off the train and go and get on a bus that was going to take us to a different station where we could get prepaid taxis to go wherever we needed to go, that were going to be paid for by the rail company. And we were like, great, okay, fine, you know, like, this is great, it's fine, we'll get home. We get on this bus. It goes everywhere but where we need to go initially, because the bus driver was told the wrong information and thought that he had to go somewhere else. So
Jesus.
we go somewhere else, bearing in mind as well, at this point it's like 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So, and then we finally get to where we need to be for our taxis. There's no taxis. The station, the one person working at the station at that hour is really confused as to why loads of people have just randomly turned up at the station saying that they are waiting for taxis. It turns into this whole big thing. I'm not going to divulge details, but it was insane. It was absolutely crazy. We had taxis that were being paid for by people at the station. We had taxis that were being paid for by the rail company that were like all on the way, apparently. We had, you know, like, me and my friend were the only two women in that entire group. And there was like 15 of us, right? And it's like nearly at the point where people started to kind of kick off, it was nearly 2.
Okay.
So then people start kicking off. The guy that works at the station is like, let me sort this out, you know, who needs to go where, how many of you, let me book all these taxis for you. Like, I didn't know this was happening. So then he goes in to book all the taxis. He lets us into the station and turns like all the heating on inside so that we don't freeze outside because it's really cold. We get in, he books all the taxis, everything's kind of going okay. And then some of the taxis start turning up and they say that they can only take one person at a time. And this wasn't an issue until more than one people carrier turned up. Now, if you don't know what a people carrier is, they are big cars that can seat up to 8 people. So people carriers started turning up and were like, yeah, we can only take one. So people started kicking off at these taxi drivers, being really, really horrible to them. And then the people that were being horrible, like, at this point, me and my friend, we're delirious because we're on a post-concert come down. We're tired and we're like full of beans, so we are losing our minds in the corner. Like, yeah, we're kind of like, we're gonna get home at some point, you know, like, we will get home. It's being handled, we've just got to wait, and we can wait indoors in the warm, so it's no skin off our backs, really. We're just gonna get home later.
Yeah.
But the men that were outside having like unnecessary amounts of beef with these poor taxi drivers, they kind of started pointing towards me and my friend, who were genuinely taking the piss out of all of them in the corner. And we were also like losing our minds over horrible histories references. It was so great. But we they kind of turned to us and were like, you're letting these women stand in the cold for hours. You're leaving these women in the cold at 2:30 in the morning for no reason. Bearing in mind as well, the taxi driver they were having a go at was going to the part of our town that we didn't need to go to. So he was going to the main part, but me and my friend needed to go to 2 different parts of the town. So, like, we couldn't have got in that man's taxi anyway, regardless, because we would have been in the wrong place. But they were still having a go at him, being like, you're leaving these women in the cold, you should be, like, embarrassed, and everything like that. And me and my friend were kind of just sitting there like, don't involve us. Do not involve us. We were standing in the corner and these men were, like, trying to justify them being really angry with the fact that we were left in the cold, just us two. And we were standing there going, no, the women don't care. The women are fine. We're fine. We don't care. And then a taxi for my friend ended up turning up, so she got in there, and then I apologized to one of the taxi drivers because I felt really bad that people were being so horrible to him. So I apologized to him for them. I was like, I'm so sorry that people are talking to you this way. Like, it's not your fault. I'm genuinely, I'm so sorry. And then he kind of just looked at me and he was like, where do you need to go? I was like, well, I need to go to this place. And he was like, well, just get in. So then he took me to where I needed to go just because I was nice to him. And I was like, you know, like, come on, this is
He's nice.
exactly. And then I didn't get home. Bearing in mind, we left London at midnight. I didn't get home until 3:30 a.m. And then I had to be up at 8 a.m. the next day because I was going to see Chase Atlantic with my mum and the same friend. So we did that. We got in. I crashed big time.
I can imagine.
Got up at 8:30, did all the stuff I needed to do to get ready, and then we made the same journey to go and see Chase Atlantic. And it was so much fun. Chase was insane. I've been
So jealous.
I've been a fan of Chase Atlantic since I was at school.
Yeah, we were young.
So it's been like a good 6, 7 years of me listening to their music at this point. And I've
Mhm.
been like waiting for them to do concerts in the UK. And then they announced these shows. I was like, yes, let's go. Like, I have to go. And then in December, the venues got changed because there was an incident at the venue that it was supposed to be held at. It was like a crowd crush. I'm not really sure what happened there, to be honest, because I didn't know anything about it until my mum told
People
me.
tried to, yeah, people tried to break into that gig,
Mm,
uh, managed to get through the doors and the security, and I think it was one security guard and one of the actual concert goers ended up being killed in the crush.
yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
now,
they rescheduled all the gigs that were meant to be at that venue.
yeah, so the venue has had its license suspended, no work, and no one can hold gigs there. So everywhere's been rescheduled. And it just so happened that Chase Atlantic got rescheduled for the day after Jackson Wang at the same venue that Jackson Wang was at. So,
Good
but
venue though.
it is a really nice venue. When you're at the front though, like if you're standing on like the slopey bit,
Yeah,
good luck.
I went to Dodie in 2021,
Mm.
and I was literally right on the bit where the slope starts, like right on the
Ooh,
precipice of the slope.
yeah.
It was
It
not a
was,
sleigh, but it
yeah.
is a very lovely venue.
Yeah, it is a really nice venue. But when the venue changed, they also released VIP tickets because
Mhm.
the venue that it was at then had like they have like VIP packages that they do for that specific venue. And they announced it that they had VIP and I was like this is it was one of those moments where I was like, you either go big or you go home, and
Real.
I'm not going home, you know?
Mhm.
And I was also kind of like, I've been waiting to see them live for so long. I feel like I deserve it.
Very that.
So I upgraded mine and my mum's tickets to VIP because my friend I didn't get her ticket in the first instance. So she upgraded her ticket to VIP the night before at Jackson Wang in the queue to get in.
Goodness me.
I know. But it was because everyone else that was supposed to be going cancelled. So
Yeah.
she would have been on her own in the queue all day, and we didn't want that. So she was like, "Do you know
Literally the
what?"
reason I didn't go.
Mm. So she was like, "Do you know what? I'm just gonna do it." So she upgraded her ticket. We all got VIP, and the VIP was like sound check, a tote bag, like a little lanyard, and you also got like a little bit of a Q&A with them after the sound check, and you got like early entry. It was so cool. It was so cool. I'm gonna remember that for like the rest of my life.
Core
Um,
memory.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, they did 3 songs at soundcheck, and I nearly cried during one of them because it kind of hit me that I was seeing them and it had been so long since I'd listened to their music, and it was one of my favorite songs as well. So they started playing it and I was like, oh, oh my god. And then I kind of
Oh,
had a moment and was like, no, I'm not crying to a Chase Atlantic song. It's not happening.
good.
So I didn't. But then when they came out on stage for soundcheck, one of the members of the band ended up being right in front of me, my mum, and my friend. And he kind of walked out on stage and looked at me and went, "Hi," and I melted. I died. I died a little bit.
You were
Um,
living in your character moment.
I was, yeah, genuinely. And then they did soundcheck. They did their little Q&A thing. They posed for everyone's Be Reels. Not even 2 minutes after I took my own Be Reel of them doing soundcheck, which was just it was
Hit.
hell. It was hell, right? Because I took my Be Real, it posted, and then somebody in the crowd for the Q&A asked them to take her Be Real, and they were like, "Well, if we do yours, we have to do everyone's, so no." And then everyone was like, "No, but we can all do our Be Reels at the same time." So then everyone did their Be Reels at the same time and they posed for it, and I was like,
I would have dead ass made a new Be Real account right then. I'm
I
so
was
serious.
fuming. I was so angry. But I have a video of them posing for everyone's Be Reels, so it was fine. And then they went in after doing the sound check and everything, and then the first support act came out around 8 o'clock, and the second one came on around, I want to say like 9:15, maybe 8:30 actually. And both of them were amazing. Both of them were so good. I have been thoroughly obsessed with Running Touch, who was the second support act. I've been thoroughly obsessed with him and his music since leaving Chase Atlantic. He is so good. He's absolutely phenomenal. And I really love the fact that both the support acts for Chase Atlantic were Australian.
Awesome.
So they were like, they wanted to shine a spotlight on specifically Australian artists because they don't get a lot of hype anywhere outside Australia. So it was so cool to kind of see these new people that I hadn't seen before perform. Like, they were insane. It was so good. It was so good. And then Chase came out and did their set, and I don't think I've ever shouted and screamed so much in my entire life. It was crazy. I ascended to a higher level of being.
You did.
And then I got a smoke machine kind of, I don't know what it did, but a smoke machine screwed with my eye really bad, to the point where when we left the concert, I had one eye that still had all of my eyeliner on, and the other eye was bare because I'd essentially cried it all off on one eye where the smoke machine had got in my eye and made it sting so badly that it all just came off because my eye
Yeah,
was watering.
I've been caught by smoke machines before, and it's not fun.
It was so bad. I don't think I don't think my eye has ever hurt that much in my life. But it was so cool. I think the only thing that I do regret is the fact that I couldn't get merch, because when we
Yeah.
went in for the VIP thing, the merch stalls weren't ready, which I find really strange, to be honest. I would have thought that they would have been done, considering they took boxes of merch in at 1 p.m. and
Yeah, that is
we didn't
odd.
go in until 6.
Yeah, that's very odd.
So they weren't done. They weren't put out at all. So we couldn't get any merch before we went in for the VIP thing, which I'm like, it frustrated me because I did really want some merch, but I'm also like, I got a tote bag and I've got like a little meet and greet lanyard. So honestly, I'm not that put out about it. It was just a little frustration that I had. And then we
Yeah.
left and they guided us out a side door. So we couldn't even go like to the front to go and get any on the way out.
Annoying.
But it was really good, and all of the trains were running perfectly. So we got home at like an all right time, and then I crashed so hard. I think I slept until like 2 p.m. the day after because I was just so exhausted.
Well, I've not really done much with my year so far. My year's been
Mm.
pretty chill. I mean, I've come back to London, which is always a slog, trekking half of my personal belongings back up to a different city. But I've been back for like a week now, and I've had a very nice time hanging out with my friends who I haven't seen in forever. I've been making lots of dumb purchases, which is probably a good way to segue over to the fact that I'm so irresponsible with my money, it's bad. Like, it's getting embarrassing now. We'll take Friday as an example, because Friday was chaos. So, we were also going to talk about upcoming things we've got this year. And two things we do have are James Marriott gigs.
Yes.
Shocker. And these two gigs are back to back. So one's on the 28th of February, one's on the 1st of March. Same venue. And the tickets for night one came out. We managed to get them. Then in the middle of the evening, just apropos of nothing, another date appears. And I was sat in the pub with my friends with no access to the internet. My friend did have access to the internet, and I just turned around and went, buy me one now, because I'm not risking it selling out. So I was like, cool, banked myself 2 gig tickets, awesome, bye bye money. Then I got home and decided I was feeling really generous and paid for your ticket for the
Yeah.
second show. And then I accidentally ordered merch. I really wish I was joking. So George Not Found has released Florida themed merch. Obviously, he just moved to Florida. It's all very exciting. Clearly wanted to make some merch to commemorate it. And I remember seeing Dream wear it, I think like a week ago. And I was like, that goes off. Everyone originally thought that he had just printed that off to have for himself. And it wouldn't have surprised me, to be honest. But no, it turned out to be actual purchasable merch.
Mm.
And I was like, this looks sick. I'm going to have a look at how much it costs. I'm not going to buy it. I'm just going to see how much it costs. Price wasn't too horrible. But I was like, no, I'll think about it. I'll like sleep on it. And then I dropped my phone. And in the process of dropping my phone, my thumb hit confirm order. So I now have merch on the way that I didn't actually intend on getting, at least for a while. And yeah, I spent £140 that day.
I mean, it's the funniest way to say that you got merch, I'll be honest. Like,
I
being
mean,
like, I
like,
accidentally bought this.
yeah, like at the end of the day, probably one of my better accidental purchases, because
hmm
believe it or not, this has happened to me more than once. But I'm not mad at it. If anything, it kind of got rid of my like natural hesitancy to spend money, because
Mm,
believe it or not, I do actually not really enjoy spending money that much.
yeah.
So it kind of, I was just like, well, Destiny has decided I'm having that, so I'm having it. Who am I to argue with Destiny?
Pretty
But we've
much.
got, yeah, lots of stuff lined up for the first couple months of this year.
Yep.
I mean, as of the day we are recording this, we are seeing Lovejoy in 6 days.
I'm
I'm
so
so
excited.
excited. It's not like a Lovejoy show.
Mm.
I'm not really sure what it is. It's like a mini festival almost.
Yeah, I think it's just a show for like more than one band. I'm not really
Yeah.
sure, to be honest. It's just
Well, I think
it's
Lovejoy are like the big ones of it. So they'll be like on last.
yeah.
But I'm looking forward to hearing some new music from artists I've not heard before.
Mm.
'Cause I imagine they'll probably all be of like a similar vibe.
Yeah.
There's like different days of this event, so I would assume they've kind of tried to match them on vibes.
Mm.
You think?
Yeah.
Are we going to queue for stupid amounts of time? Yes. Am I going to regret it? Absolutely not.
Oh,
I need a Lovejoy barrier moment. I'm sorry, but I do.
I think I do as well, to be honest.
I'm
I think I
itching for
deserve
one.
it. I think I deserve it.
We've not had one, and I think we've earned it.
Yeah.
And then we are also seeing them again in March, end of March.
Yep, literally 2 days before I go away for my birthday holiday.
Yeah, and in between that, we've got two James Marriott gigs.
Yep.
And then on the 5th of April, we are going to see Sam Ryder, of all people.
Yep. We're also seeing Eden in February.
We are seeing in February. There's just so much
Two
going on.
days before IC80s, the K-pop
Yeah,
group.
there's so much going on.
So
You are
much.
doing 4 gigs in a week. I don't envy you.
I don't either. I do not envy anything to do with that.
Like, I have cleared my schedule for the entirety of the week after the 2 rounds of James gigs.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I will be dead. I need to just sit at home and do nothing for a week after that. Because, like, not only is it just intense anyway, but, like, I have chronic pain. Like, I'm gonna hurt.
Yeah.
It'll be worth it, but I'm gonna hurt afterwards. So I need to, like, look after myself a little bit. But as much as there's quite a lot going on, and it is gonna be quite a hectic couple of months, I'm, like, okay with it being that hectic because like we're not going to get more Lovejoy shows in the UK for a while because they're going to Europe and America.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there'll be any Lovejoy UK shows until the summer at the very earliest.
Do you know what else is happening in February?
Oh god, what else?
Call Me What You Like.
That fucking song. We've been waiting for it for so long. The first time we heard it was we've only actually heard it live once.
I want to say twice.
Nope.
No, we have heard it twice because there was someone at the Halloween, was it the Halloween show, that was shocked
Yeah.
that we knew the lyrics. Was that? Oh no, that was Golden Hour. Never
That
mind.
was Golden Hour, hun. Yeah, Call Me What You Like. We've only heard that one once. It feels like I've heard it so much because I've just played that video back so much. But
Yeah,
I'm unbelievably excited for that song to
I'm
come
so
out. Although,
excited.
please just give us the album, I beg. I will do anything for the album at this point. I will sell my left kidney for the album.
I just want to know what the acronym stands for at this point.
I tweeted this months ago and I stand by it. The album is called Wake Up and It's Over. It's either Wake Up and It's Over or Woke Up and It's Over.
I
One of
still
the
think it's Wibble Ubble and
two.
Ibble Ubble.
I hate that that's still a thing.
It was so
I
funny.
kind of want them to make it the title just to please us. I think that would be
Yeah,
brilliant. Yeah, it's a very hectic like 4 months ahead,
it is.
but because I don't think we're gonna have any Lovejoy or James shows for a
Mm,
hot minute after like March,
yeah.
I'm not welcoming it. My bank account will love the fact that there's no gigs for a while.
My bank account is just hating me anyway.
Yeah, same. I need it to just like start forgiving me a little bit, and I
Mm,
think if there's a respite from gigs,
it might.
that gives me a chance. Because because they're doing like especially Lovejoy, they're doing this tour, but then they're also doing a bunch of festivals in the summer.
hmm
So I'm like, are they going to have much time to do more gigs? Probably not. So yeah, it could be a hot second until we see them next.
Yep.
And same with James, to be honest, because
Mhm.
he's doing this little tour and he's probably gone on a bit of a rest.
Mhm.
Can't say I blame him.
I think there's something like really special about Lovejoy gigs and James gigs. It's just
Mhm.
because they're so, I don't know, I feel like you can really feel how close the community is at these gigs.
People really look out for each other, which is nice.
Yeah. So I think it's something that I'll miss in the rest of the gigs that I go to this year that aren't James and Lovejoy.
Definitely, especially because like even before we started doing Lovejoy and James gigs, like you'd been to quite a lot of gigs before.
Mhm.
I had probably been to about 5 gigs in my entire life
Uh,
before. No, I'd say like 6 or 7 up until 2022. And then, so I probably did more gigs in 2022 than I had done in my entire life. So, and most of them have been Lovejoy and James.
yeah.
So I'm very much used to small, tight knit
Yeah.
gigs. So the idea of going and seeing other people is kind of scary to me because I
Mm.
don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Like Eden is going to be fine. I can tell that'll be fine. 'Cause as far as I'm aware, it's not a huge venue. Like Sam Ryder, I'm pretty sure we've got seated tickets.
Bless. I love a concert that has seated tickets. Like, I appreciate that when you go to a gig, you want to like stand up and jump. But when you go to like loads of gigs and you have joint problems, standing is just not
Big owl.
applicable. It's not applicable anymore. Like, I could barely walk when we left Jackson because we'd been standing for so long and my
Yeah.
knees were just gone. Um, so like I do appreciate going to a seated gig every once in a while.
A little treat in April for you. We'll go to a little seated gig.
Oh my god, thanks.
And that's a small capacity venue. It's like 1,800.
Oh wow. I thought it was bigger.
We went to the Brighton Dome not long ago.
Oh shit. Yeah, do you know what? I completely blanked it was the Brighton Dome.
I thought it was the Brighton Centre, to be fair. And then my mum was like, no, it's the Dome, because I'm taking tickets off my mum.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be good. But yeah, slightly nerve-wracking for me, but I have a seasoned gig veteran coming with me, so I'll be fine. I'll be absolutely grand.
Genuinely, seated gigs are amazing. We can get there like really late and we'll still be fine, basically,
Yeah,
is what I'm saying. They're just a blessing. They're an absolute blessing. It's
I think
great.
it's gonna be weird doing like 10 hours before.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm seeing, not to brag, um, but like I'm seeing the Arctic Monkeys and The Weekend this year. And and both of those are seated because they're stadium. I mean, one of them I'm going to with my mum, and my mum has worse joint problems than I do.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, I want to get seated tickets for Arctic Monkeys because it's better for both of us if we don't have to wait around for hours and hours and hours on the day. So not only can we sleep in, but we also don't have to stand for the duration of the concert if we don't want to.
Okay, we've spoken a lot about gigs today, and it is finally time to segue to Gracie's segment of the podcast. You know what to do, introduce it, what you're going to be doing,
This
and
is
go.
the Colleen Hoover Hate Corner. If you're new
Yeah!
to the podcast and you don't know what it is, it's basically just a section where I talk about the books that I've been reading and how much I hate Colleen Hoover. Because I just have a vendetta. I read It Ends With Us and I have a vendetta. That's it.
Mhm.
So now I just dedicate a whole section where I talk about the books that I've read, I recommend the ones that I really like, and that's about it really. But this week, before I get onto the books, because we actually did film a podcast episode before Christmas
We
and the
did.
audio corrupted big time. And I did my Colleen Hoover Hate Corner and I spoke about a couple books. I now have to update those books as well as every other book I've read over Christmas. But before that, there has been Colleen Hoover controversy since the beginning of the new year.
Tell me
So
about it.
basically, the book It Ends With Us, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
is based on Colleen Hoover's mother and
Right.
the abuse that her mother went through when Colleen was a child at the hands of
Mm-hmm.
her father. Um, and so like it's already a bit that the book itself was written, right? The book itself romanticizes abuse, talks about it like it just if you're going to write a book about a subject as heavy as that, you need to address it properly. and not the way that
Yeah.
it was addressed in It Ends With Us, right? That's my whole gripe, is that it's just badly written and it's not good for the young girls that are Colleen Hoover fans to be internalizing what's happening in these books as like good.
Yeah.
So New Year comes around, and I think last week before maybe, Colleen announces on her Instagram that she is doing an It Ends With Us colouring book. So she's releasing a colouring book based on a book that's about abuse, right? So then everyone online, especially BookTok, because that's where I found out about it, go absolutely crazy. I mean, as they should, you know, and a lot of people were like making jokes like, oh, well, if you're gonna buy this, then you need to sharpen your red coloured pencils and maybe the black and blue as well. Like jokes like that, because it's just like the stuff in the book is just really bad. And people were basically being like, well, what are we supposed to be colouring in? You know, like, is it gonna be the stairs that she gets pushed down? Is it gonna be the gun? Like, no one understands what like willed her to make this book, and also thought it was a bit of just a money grab for
I was going to say, I think we all
something.
know it
Yeah,
was.
exactly. Like it's just a money grab for something that's given her like monetary success, right? So everyone's kind of like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you releasing this? And not even 24 hours later, because of the uproar it had online, it's been like repealed from publishing and it's not happening anymore.
Good.
But Colleen was like, yeah, you know, it was going to be based on Lily's strengths and like best attributes as a character. And it's like, that's all very well and good, but the book as a whole is about a subject that shouldn't be monetized in the way that you're trying to monetize it.
Yeah.
You know, it just shouldn't. So that was the Colleen Hoover controversy.
Oh, fuck her.
It genuinely boggled me. Like I saw it was announced. I was like, no, this has to be fake. No way this is real. No way she's doing this. But now, the books that I've read. Okay.
Oh
So,
boy.
since the last episode where I did my Colleen Hoover Hate Corner, I was reading the Shatter Me series. I was on book 3 last time. I've since finished that and the entire series, but we're going to talk about it. The first book is Restore Me. Fun fact, there's 8 books here right now, including this one. But yeah, the first one was Restore Me. This was book 4 in the series, and it's about really difficult to talk about this series without spoiling everything that happens because it's so like in its own kind of league at this point.
Yeah.
But I really genuinely enjoyed this. Like everything kind of was coming together. Everything was going great, everything was going well. And then everything falls apart all within the span of this book. Quite dramatically just falls apart. And I was actually reading this at Lewis's house up in London, and I read this. I finished it at 2 o'clock in the morning because I kind of picked it up at a random time in the evening, and then could not put it down because I was just obsessed with it. And it was just one of those books where I was like, I need to get this done and I need to get it read now, like pronto. Like I'm so ready to read this. And then I read it, got to the end, and was like, I have to read the next one and I have to read it now because I cannot deal with the cliffhanger that this one finishes on. So if you're planning on reading this and you don't have the 5th book and you can't deal with cliffhangers, get this one first so that you have it on standby for afterwards, because this cliffhanger, it kind of destroyed me a little bit. So then I finished this. It was an absolute mess. I think I was like pacing around Lewis's apartment for like a good 10-15 minutes before I read the other one. So then I picked up Defy Me, which is book 5, and read this, and it kind of brings everything to a sort of conclusion. From what I knew, this was the final book in the series because there's books and there's novellas. So I was like, oh, this is an 11-book series. You know, like actual like books and novellas included. So but you don't have to read all 11 to kind of get everything that's going on. The novellas are kind of just like little snippets of other people's POVs on things, basically. So you don't have to read them to understand what's going on. So I read this one. I read Defy Me. had a bit of a meltdown about it as well because of everything that happens in it, and then discovered that there's actually 6 novels. So then day after maybe, I was
I
still
think
at
it was.
yours. So I read this, was like, this is great. I thought it was the end. Didn't really feel that fulfilling for an ending. It was kind of like, this is great, but more can be done with this. Which is when
Yeah.
I found out about book 6, which is Imagine Me. And this is one of the last books in the series behind, I think there's like a novella after this and that's it. The series is like done. This brought everything to a close. Literally everything. And it was really good. It was really good. The way that the author works with the twists that she put in the 2 previous books that she was kind of still working her way around was just really cool. I've never seen anything like it, and the resolution was just amazing. So I read this and I just had a moment, I think. I just had a moment. It put me in a little bit of a slump, I'll be honest, because I was like, this series was really good. And it did wreck me a little bit. And I'm also now unhealthily obsessed with Aaron Warner. We're not going to talk about it, but it's there. So, the series as a whole was absolutely amazing. And if you can bear to get through 1.5 books of slow plot, then it's worth it. To the end, it's worth it. Then, after I finished the Shatter Me series, I decided that I wanted to read The Cruel Prince and the Folk of the Air series, which is this series by Holly Black. Oh my goodness me. I read this one because I already had all 3 books in the Cruel Prince series. Because I got it from the Works. If you live in the UK, the Works is great for book sets. It's where I got my Shatter Me series from, and the Cruel Prince. Insanely cheap. You get all the books. It's great. I love the Works. The Works is amazing.
It is.
So I read the Cruel Prince. I felt like it was kind of slow. It was really good. I loved the world building and I loved the characterization of Jude, who's the main character. It's amazing. She's great. I did end up really, really enjoying this. And then I finished it and was like, I have to read the next one now. So then I read the Wicked King, because the Cruel Prince kind of ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. Like, it's like this big event happens at the end of the Cruel Prince, and it's like, if it was a standalone novel, it would be fine, but there was more that could be done with the story from there. So then I read The Wicked King, and it was amazing. It was so good. So many things happen in this book, because what I didn't realise before going into these books is that they aren't actually romance. They're like politics, but the romance is like a subplot. So it's not like the forefront of everything. So the romance is like inferred, which was really cool. And seeing the progression of like the relationship in this book, as well as like the reaction to the things that have happened in the previous one, was really good. It was really, really cool. And then we get to Queen of Nothing, which is the last one. This is personally my favourite, because this one, I'm in love with the relationship and I'm in love with the way that the story was told through it. This follows, again, an event that happens in the last book quite closely, and it was just really cool to kind of be part of that. And I read this not long before the last book was coming out, or like the first in the new duology for this series. So I read this and then was really, really, really excited for The Stolen Heir, which I'll talk about in a minute.
Okay.
And then a few days ago, I finished Crooked Kingdom, which is the second book in the Six of Crows duology, which is part of the same universe as Shadow and Bone. I'm like losing breath. I've talked too much. So I mean, this edition, I've damaged it by accident. So I do have a new copy of this that I actually did read. But this one, it took me a really long time to get through this. Not because I wasn't enjoying it, because I absolutely adore the Crows and the Grishaverse. I was obsessed with this series after reading Six of Crows. But what I did get was massive spoilers from Book Talk, which I really didn't appreciate in the slightest, because then I got these spoilers and was like, now I know what happens. I don't want to read it anymore because it's gonna hurt me. It's gonna hurt me, like, physically. And then I damaged this by accident because it had just been in my bag for a long time and this started peeling. So I was like, oh, we'll just peel it a bit more because, like, nothing's gonna come off, because obviously none of this did underneath it. So then I started peeling it, and if you see the
Oh no.
the title is in this. So I ended up getting a new copy of it for Christmas, which incentivized me to start reading it again. And then I got past the fact that I had spoilers and was like, do you know what? There's other stuff that I don't know that happens in this book. I just know the big events. Like, I don't know the lead up and the afterwards and the, like, everything like that. So then I read it, and I finished it the other day at my friend's house while she was asleep next to me in bed at like 2 in the morning. And let me tell you, trying to cry quietly next to someone who's sleeping is awful.
It's a mission.
It's so bad. I cried. Towards the end of this, I cried heavily. It was really, really good, really well written, and I'm really excited to read more Leigh Bardugo, to be honest. She's quickly becoming one of my favourite authors. It's just incredible, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm so excited to read some more and see where this goes in terms of, like, Netflix projects and stuff like that, because from what I can tell, Six of Crows is getting a separate show after Shadow and Bone. So the last book that I'm reading at the moment is The Stolen Heir. It's like my light is really... It's The Stolen Heir, Holly Black. It's the first book in the new duology for the Elflame series thing that Holly Black's got going on. This, I'm 100 pages in, just about, I think. I started reading this today. I'm chapter 6, 105 pages in, and this feels really slow starting for me. It's really good. I am really enjoying it. I'm so excited to kind of follow these characters and see what happens and everything like that. And I'm also just really excited in general because not long after I got this, Holly Black announced that this is the first in a duology. So I know for a fact that even if I have to wait for it, I'm gonna be getting another installment. And what's also really cool about this book is that I got it from Forbidden Planet, and it's signed.
That's sick.
It's signed, and
That's so cool.
I think I ordered it like the day after it came out, so it did take a while to get here, which I was a little bit upset about, but it's fine. And I'm so excited to finish it, and I'm also just really excited to read again. I feel like I have a lot more time to do it now, so I'm like, I'm feeling it, you know. I'm so excited to read. I didn't bring them out because they're just on my bookshelf and there's a lot of them, but I also, for Christmas, I got the Crescent City books. There you go, the Sarah J Maas Crescent City series. It's a duology at the moment, and just by chance my mum and her boyfriend ended up buying me the sequel and then also the first one. So I was like, great, this is amazing. And then just after Christmas, I also ordered myself the Throne of Glass collection, the box set.
Oh.
I'm so excited to read it. I absolutely adored ACOTAR. Like, there's a lot of people that have very different opinions on it, which is, like, fair, you know. Not everything's going to be your cup of tea. But ACOTAR kind of, like, reignited my love for reading.
Yeah.
So because it did that, I'm just like, I'm so excited to read anything Sarah J Maas at this point, because I love her, like, universes and the way that she builds them. So I'm just really excited to read it. And then also because the Crescent City novels kind of encapsulate everything that's happened so far in both ACOTAR and Throne of Glass, from what I can tell. It's kind of like an Avengers Endgame thing.
Kind of.
So I'm just really excited to read Throne of Glass and then read both of these Crescent City novels and just understand what's going on before the new one comes out at some point when she announces it.
Soon, please.
Soon, please, yes. But I'm really excited. So many things happening, so many book things happening. I'm so excited. I'm also, like, contemplating creating a Bookstagram and a BookTok TikTok account, but I'm not sure at this moment in time.
That would be a slay. I think you should do it.
I might.
I think BookTok is slightly more, how do I word it? They're more arseholes on TikTok than they are on Instagram.
Yep.
So I think Instagram, if you want to just have a nice time talking about the books you've read,
Mm.
that's probably the better place to go.
Yeah,
Because
I don't
TikTok
know.
can be brutal if
I
someone doesn't agree with you.
Yeah, I have a lot of opinions on Book Talk, but I'm not going to get into them right now because we've been filming for a long time, and that's for like
You have.
another Colleen Hoover Hate Corner. But yeah, that basically concludes this week's Colleen Hoover Hate Corner.
Yippee! I've missed Colleen Hoover Hate Corner so
So
much.
much fun. I love it. I love being a hater, but I also love being a lover, so
I love being an arsehole, it's my favourite.
basically.
And on that fantastic note, we are going to wrap up this episode here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being patient with us on our very long, unplanned break. You won't have to wait that long for a pod again, I promise. And we will see you, hopefully, next week
Yep.
with a brand new episode.
Yay!
Bye!